I'm proud of you. I'm proud of me. I'm just going to say it out loud. I think all of that for me, plus the courage bit, the courage to keep showing up and saying things that other people don't want to or aren't able to. I think that's so important.
Welcome to the O for Food's Sake podcast, where we unwrap the joys and struggles of working in the food industry so you can thrive in what you do best while sustaining a rewarding and fulfilling career or business. We are your hosts, Lucy Wager, food industry consultant,
and Amy Wilkinson, food industry coach. We've worked in the food industry for the last 20 years and we're here to share with you the benefit of our hindsight. Our podcast is for you to find new ways to cope with the daily struggles, but mostly to inspire you to work on what's not working to ultimately improve your career or business long term. Hello and welcome to the 200th episode of O for Food's Sake. Can you believe it, Lucy?
Wow. No, I can't. It's crazy.
I was thinking about that. It's like there have been 200 conversations that me and you have had that other people have been listening to.
That's amazing.
How mad is that? And I just looked, it's like 65,000 downloads or something ridiculous like that as well. So thank you to people listening. Thank you for listening to us yabber on about the food industry for the last 4 years.
It's just given me goosebumps thinking about it. Because like when we're recording, I don't actually think, it's just, I just get into the conversation of you and I talking. But yeah, that's incredible, isn't it? I can't believe 200.
And actually thinking about when we started and we had no clue what we were doing. I mean, we are a bit more professional now, but not always.
Only slightly.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you, listeners. Thank you to everybody. Right. Today, it's a biggie episode for us because we're going to look back over the last 200 episodes and we're going to look back at what we've learned, how we've grown, and we're going to be talking about what's next. So
and we've done an episode like this before where we've had questions. We did it at, was it last New Year we did it? And I can't remember.
We did it to review last year, didn't we? But yeah, so me and Lucy have got a set of questions that we have both prepared answers to separately. So we don't know what the other one's going to say. So we're going to go through those. Should we get going, Lucy?
Let's go.
Okay. So should we talk about, the first question was, what inspired us to start the podcast in the first place? Shall we tell, because not everybody listening will know the story of how and why we started.
Yeah.
So I put a networking call in with Lucy. So I was a few months, you were about a year into your consultancy business, weren't you? And I was a few months in. Me and Lucy have known each other for 21 years now, something like that.
Yeah.
And Lucy was like the least scary person. It's the best way to put it. She's the first person on my networking list to ring. Like, I set up this new business and, whatever. And I was like, just after some advice and whatever. And it was lockdown. And it was so lovely to catch up, wasn't it, Lucy? We were just really like, oh my God, like came off the call totally heartful, like really just basically having conversations like we have had these 200 conversations.
Yeah.
And that evening, Lucy WhatsApped me and said, we've got so much to say about the food industry. We should start a podcast. And I replied, okay then. And then what did you wake up to the next morning, Lucy?
Like a whole pillars. I think the editor had been sourced. It's like we were go. Podcast was on.
And 4 weeks later, we launched it. So it was like literally, it was like a lockdown project, wasn't it? First episode, I was sitting on the floor in my daughter's bedroom because it's the only room in my house that's got carpet. It was just like ridiculous.
Yeah. It was.
I have got carpet in the other rooms now.
Yeah,
it's been so successful. I've been able to afford other carpet.
It was amazing how quickly we did it, and that networking call. So I was probably about a year into my consultancy business. So I'd come out the other end of podology, and for ages I'd been thinking I really want a way of sharing what I've learned from going through a startup process. And I've always wanted to talk about product development and what I do, and I've just always wanted an outlet for that. And then when we had that call and the situation that you were in, we were coming from very different places of hardship in the food industry and wanted to give something back to the industry, but also as a way of kind of talking about what we were doing and sharing, what our new journeys were.
Yeah.
And I think for me, the thing that inspired me to start was having come out the other end of a failed food startup and be able to basically exercise those demons for myself.
Mm.
And doing that with you was amazing because you're a coach. And so we basically sort of went on this journey together where we were talking about things that were helping us helping the listeners that we were listening to, and sharing the highs and lows of what we'd gone through our careers, basically.
Yeah. And similarly for me, I mean, my backstory is the burnout that I had when I was in that commercial role. But I just felt like I've had all these years of struggle, and I just started to talk about my burnout publicly, and I started getting like positive response from people and realised that it made a difference. Like talking about the things that other people can't talk about, and actually doing it with you made it a lot less scary than I don't think either of us would have
No,
done it on our own ever.
definitely not. No.
No.
And we definitely wouldn't have got to 200 episodes.
We both said it's the thing that we've been most consistent in our careers to date.
Yeah. Yeah.
Managing to get to 200 episodes.
Yeah.
So, Lucy, what's your biggest learning or takeaway from doing the 200 episodes?
One of the biggest things for me is proving that with the right support, I can be consistent at something, because I'm not a very consistent person and I get distracted very easily. And poor Amy knows that more than anybody else.
No comment.
But with the right support, I can be consistent. And the joy that you get from doing something so consistently, I think has been one of the biggest learnings for me.
And getting to that point where we started to look forward to recording. So we quickly learned, didn't we, that we had to, it's almost like an MPD, a stage gate process. Like you've got to have a process.
Yeah.
To start with, we were haphazard. We were like, oh, we'll fit this in on Saturday morning. We'll do this. And then it was like, no, we've got to have like once a month we record. And then we had like, we've got the amazing people that you don't see that are behind the scenes that are editing everything and making sure the social media is right. Like we had to get all of those systems in place to be consistent. So it's a bit like putting a stage gate in, really.
It is actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I
just realised that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think for me, I've always known I was a chatterbox, right? But it turns out that I've actually got quite a lot to say. And I think the biggest takeaway for me, and I think the consistency thing was a big part, but actually is that how important using my voice is to me. So I haven't told you this, Lucy, I was at this retreat last week and there was a moment quite early on where I can't even remember what the question was or whatever, but I had this big emotional wave come over me and ended up in tears, basically saying like, my voice matters. Like in the same way that I talk about lifting other women up in the industry and having a seat at the table and not being afraid to speak up and all the ethos that has sort of evolved through the podcast and, you know, like created in my mind, Fearless Foodies, actually, I've got a lot to say and I'm going to keep doing that.
Great.
But, you know, I think right at the beginning, I was a total nervous wreck, wasn't I? I sat on Holly's bedroom floor.
I mean, we had to do like 15 takes.
I was terrible. Sorry, I said you were terrible. You had to take over. You had to do all of the like intros and outros because I just couldn't do it. I still struggle with anything. Like when we have to record adverts.
It's when you overthink it. When you overthink it, you like...
When it's not just a conversation.
We've got the most amazing bloopers.
Some of my favourite ones are like you going, I just got to, can you just hold on? I just got to take my socks off, stuff like that. But I think for me as well, if I'm honest, 4 years ago, I had fallen out of love with the food industry a bit, and it's reignited my passion for the food industry as well, because we're talking about it on a regular basis. So I think that,
and it's meeting the people, having the conversations with other people as well.
Yeah.
So what surprised you the most about podcasting, or that experience that we have of podcasting now?
So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, the tech and the prep and all of that. That's the bad, that's the ugly, that's the hard bit, isn't it? It's the bit that people don't see.
Yeah.
But I think actually is kind of what we were just saying then. So I am at my most natural when I am just in the moment having a proper conversation. So I think, so how close effectively interviewing and having a conversation on a podcast is to coaching makes me realise why I love it so much, because basically that's what I do, all day. If I'm got a lot of one-to-one coaching clients, which I haven't got masses at the minute, but when I have, I am really listening to people and pulling together the insights. And that's what you do on a podcast, right? I think we're both quite good at that.
Yeah.
And feeling
Yes.
really present. So I think that surprised me the most. What about you?
I think the thing that surprised me the most is how much I've learnt about myself by doing these episodes together. Because it's like, it's time that we have to set aside. And obviously we plan what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
So like we've been completely in control of like the episodes that we do. And because of what we talk about, and we raise topics that we think other people are thinking about, but maybe not talking about it as openly, we're kind of forcing these situations and conversations on ourselves to really look at how we do things and how things are done in the industry. So we've spent a lot of time talking about these things. And by doing that, I think on reflection, it's like, God, I've got a lot out of that from doing that with you and us being able to talk stuff through. And it just so happens that we're recording it and sharing it with everybody.
Yeah.
But if we'd have had, it's a bit like therapy, like setting that time aside to talk things through about things we're seeing in the industry has been incredibly powerful.
Yeah. And I think that's similar to that feeling like I feel closer and reignited to the industry because of the conversations we have. But then when we have the personal development conversations as well, that's really good to like, we're always bringing up stuff that we need. Like, it's not just, we're not pretending to be experts in anything.
No. No.
It wouldn't have lasted long. But I think, like, I hear from people that it just feels like they're sat in the room with us and we're having a cup of tea and a chat, and they find themselves talking back to when they're driving in the car, talking back to the person, which is lovely.
And I think another thing, which might come later on as well, but I think the other thing that's so nice is that when I meet people who I've not met before, we might be like, connected on LinkedIn. And they're like, oh my God, I feel like I already know you because I listen to you. And that is like, what a privilege. It's such an amazing, it makes me feel a bit funny because I'm like, oh God. Like,
we're not allowed to feel like that, are we?
Yeah. And we don't think, like, I don't think about, I'm just having a conversation with you. I'm not thinking about, it's making me awkward talking about it now. Thinking about the other people.
I told you, didn't I, the other week when I was at some award ceremony, and like loads of people kept coming up to me and that I didn't know, saying, and even like somebody like welcomed me to the table and knew who I was, and the guy next to me went, "Are you famous?" And I went, "In a very, very small niche. Yes, I think I am." But it's just like a really, really specific niche. But yeah, it's, well, the ego loves that. But actually, the real reward is knowing that I was just sitting here having a conversation. It is interesting enough and helpful enough to people that they actually keep doing it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's amazing. Like when we first started, I remember that the first episode that we put out, and we were like excitedly like watching like on Simplecast. And I think we had 45 downloads, didn't we? Quite quickly. Like we were quite surprised. Like, oh wow, like people are actually listening to us. And then it's quite scary. It's like, oh my God.
Well, particularly because we'd been quite vulnerable, hadn't we? We told our, the good, the bad and the ugly. Whereas now we're just like, full on, like whatever.
Yeah.
Talk about the bad stuff.
What about the episode that stands out as a personal favourite? Yeah, I'm really interested to know what.
I found this quite difficult because there's so many. So, I mean, there's 200.
There's 200.
So I think actually for me, it was this mini series that we did on neurodiversity, and not because it got a lot of downloads, because it didn't. And I'm very disappointed in our listeners that it got less downloads than everything else. But it was important to us because I do think part of our journey over the last 4 years has been we've both got ADHD diagnosis. And that's been because we've learnt more about ourselves and like how our brains work and stuff like that. And I just think it feels like listeners have been on that journey with us, right? And actually, I think it's important that we share stuff, even when we know it's not going to get the ratings and the listens.
Well, that's not why we're doing it. We never
No.
did it. We didn't know if anyone was going to listen to us.
No. But it's about talking about the stuff that other people won't talk about.
Yes.
And like, so I think that they're the most important to me.
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, so the episode that stands out to me the most is the episode that we recorded with Charlie Jenkins. And the reason it stands out to me the most is because it's the episode, I refer to that episode quite a lot when I'm talking to people about neurodiversity. I found it really insightful, and the way they spoke about their journey. And it's really ironic because it is about the food industry, because Charlie works in the food industry, but it was about that. And that is so telling that we both went to that episode, like that set of episodes. Yeah.
Well, if I'd had to pick one of that series, it would have been that one, or maybe Amy Polly, because like she's my mate. And the way she, articulates stuff is amazing. But I think with Charlie, it was that real understanding of how one environment can really work for you and one environment really can't, based on what your brain, your neurotype is.
Yeah. And for me, it was that recognition from them about how learning about their neurodiversity and accepting it transformed their life in a work environment.
Yeah. And do you feel like you've learned from them, as in you've done the same because of that?
I think so, yeah. And it's made me feel like I want everybody to listen to that episode who is neurodiverse, because I think the journey that they went on, they're really brave. And to come and talk to us about it, I feel like it's what everybody needs to listen to understand that.
Well, I was going to say, I don't think it's just people that are
definitely
neurodivergent.
No,
I think everybody would get a better understanding of it from listening to that episode. Yeah. Interestingly, of that series, that was one of the best downloaded of all of them. So we will put a link in the show notes to that one, because obviously it's a real standout one for both of us.
Yeah. And the other one, completely different, was the IFST conference episode. Again, not because it was a brilliantly listened to episode, because it wasn't, but because from a personal perspective, I really enjoyed doing it and got a lot out of it. And it was just something completely different.
I'm just thinking about the editors listening, going, we hated
it. It was our worst one.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick breather here to hear from our fantastic sponsors. They help keep the podcast going, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. As we all know, the food industry never stands still, and it's not getting any easier. More pressure, tighter deadlines, and endless spreadsheets. Sound familiar? Point 74 is the perfect solution for cutting through today's product development challenges, enabling teams to create, cost, comply, and collaborate with ease. Used by 1 in 5 of the UK's top food manufacturers and 2 of the top 5 retailers, it's the software behind the label of your favourite food products, delivering improved quality, margins and processes, all in one seamless system.
Ensuring food safety and quality is crucial. That's why businesses trust Microsearch Laboratories, part of the IFP Labs Group. UCAS-accredited Microsearch offers microbiological, nutritional and allergen testing for food, drink and water, delivering fast results and expert support. With over 30 years of experience, trusted by leading manufacturers and retailers, and a commitment to sustainability, Microsearch is your partner in product safety. Visit micro-search.co.uk to learn more.
And we're back. Thanks for sticking with us. Let's dive right back in.
The next question is about what are you most proud of? And I think that I think is what I'm most proud of, and didn't realise that could happen. When we first, I wanted to share my story, but I think, I'm most proud of the fact that we've done 200 episodes.
That's what I wrote down, was consistency. It's the thing that I most from it.
And creating something that people, do want to listen to.
Yeah.
I feel embarrassed saying it, but I am really proud of it.
Yeah. Oh, are you embarrassed?
don't know. It's just who I am.
Well, yeah, it's
Can't
that
congratulate
whole we
myself.
we can't possibly, blow our own trumpets. But I'm proud of you. I'm proud of me. I'm just going to say it out loud. I think all of that for me, plus the courage bit, the courage to keep showing up and saying things that other people don't want to or aren't able to. I think that's so important. And I always think, because people are always like, oh, you're so brave and like controversial and whatever. And I'm just like, I'm just straight talking. And I think we both are. It's just, this is how it is. And like, let's just simplify it for people or just say things. Just
well, I
cut
think
out
the more,
bullshit.
because I think like we are naturally able to do it. And I think when people see people doing things that they think are brave, it makes them braver. Like the more you see people talking about things, the easier it is to talk about things. And
yeah. And I think we should be very proud of that.
yeah.
So what's next, Lucy? Well, the next question. We've got something to tell listeners, haven't we, before the next question?
We have. So I have been on a bit of a journey. Well, we've both been on this very long journey of 200 episodes.
Yeah.
I feel like I have exercised the demons that I had. And the reasons I wanted to start the podcast to share my learnings from being a founder and the roller coaster and, the real highs and lows of working in the food industry. And I have got to a point where I've realized I want to spend, as usual, I want to go back to spending more of my time entrenched in product development and talking about food from a product development perspective and product launches and innovation. And it's very difficult to say. I've decided that I wanted to stop doing the podcast in the way we've been doing it because I needed to focus my time more on doing more product development. And I think the big decision for me was during December when at the end of last year, I'd had a really, really good year and I just collapsed basically, literally at the end of November, beginning of December, and was so ill during December that it scared me. It really scared me because I've never been that ill and I couldn't function. I couldn't do anything. I mean, we had a nice Christmas, but it affected our Christmas. My daughter was really worried about me because I was so ill for so long. And I realised I needed to look at what I was doing and where
and prioritize time and energy.
Because a lot of what we talk about, I'd started to feel like I wasn't practicing what we preach.
Well, and I was just thinking about everything that we've talked about and the journey that we've been on together and the stuff that we've learnt about, and we've been recording episodes this morning that are all about like knowing who you are and getting into all of that.
Yeah. And that's why I'd started, I'd come out of podology and I was feeling so pleased about like being in my zone of genius. And I suppose I've got busier and my business has grown and there's things I want to do. And I don't want the podcast to feel like it's in the way because it's too precious to me for that to happen. Like I don't want it to be something that I don't look forward to. So
can I share with listeners how you told me?
Yeah.
So me and Lucy were having an in-person meet up, which we don't do that often. We try and do it like quarterly because we started the podcast in lockdown, so it was absolutely fine that it was remote, but like actually you want to see each other in person. And Lucy walked in, we were meeting like halfway between our houses in a hotel, and she walked in and like I could tell that, I mean, Lucy's got a nervous energy about her anyway, like in a good way, but I could just tell there was something. And she like gave me a hug, hi. And then she just went, I don't know how I'm going to say this. I haven't planned what I'm going to say or how I'm going to say it, but I don't want to do the podcast anymore. And I was like, okay.
Well, Amy responded in the most coachy way in the world and said, okay, tell me about where these thoughts have come from or something like that, which was brilliant because then I just like went
and I do remember putting my hand on your arm like just to go calm down, like it's all going to be okay, because it's tough. Like I'm feeling emotional now talking about it. Like we've been friends for 20 years. This has been a big part of our lives the last 4 years, and it feels like, it's upsetting, isn't it?
It is.
It's really hard because we've been on this journey together, but we both recognise that we're going in different directions and we shouldn't try to hold on to something because it feels hard to let go of
Yeah.
it. That's the wrong
Yeah.
reason to hold on to something,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Exactly. And it's really scary. Like, I'm really scared about letting it go. But equally, I don't want, and I'm not saying it's the podcast's fault that I was ill, but it's everything that I had going on.
And I would just say, you know, like I'm always banging on at you, aren't I, Lucy, about like looking after your health and stuff, because I've experienced that burnout. And like when you were like that at Christmas, like I was genuinely worried that you were going to end up like I was. I mean, you were pretty bedbound for a few weeks, weren't you? But like post-viral fatigue, all of that stuff that I experienced, and it's like, it's not worth it. And, you know when I look back at how busy my life was when I burnt out, and you have a very busy life, and you've just, and like, I'm so proud of you. And I said this when you told me, didn't I, that you've recognised that, and you've said, you've had the difficult conversation. And as we keep saying, we can do difficult things. We keep having to say to each other, we can do difficult things. We can get through this.
Yeah.
So it is really important, I think, for listeners to, like, I want us to get across that you're doing this for all the reasons that we've talked about in the podcast for the last 4 years, which is, if something doesn't light you up in the same way as it used to, then you can change things. Actually, like, what are your values? What matters to you? What do you want to focus your time on? And actually saying no and like ending things is okay. If it's the best for you, and you can do it in a nice, kind way. It doesn't have to be, I mean, don't get me wrong, it still feels horrible, doesn't it, Lucy? Like, even though we're being really difficult, we've been really supportive of each other through this, it still feels a bit like a breakup, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But equally, you know, you said, you know, we can be friends, not we can be friends again, we can just be friends again. You know, and that's, we're not losing each other, but we're losing a shared.
And from day one, we always said when we started the podcast, if it ever gets in the way of our friendship, then that's it. And it hadn't, but it could have done at some point, couldn't it? Because we've been moving in different directions.
Yeah. And I think there's certain things that, you know, that I mentioned, the IFST conference podcast, like, I think doing that podcast, so I really enjoyed doing that.
Well, and I was going to say, let's talk about what we're going to do, because people are probably thinking, oh my God. And so the plan is, well, there isn't a full plan at the minute, but we've got another couple of months of episodes that we are recording. So nothing is going to happen until the summer, basically.
Because obviously, Amy and I couldn't do anything in secret like this, because like we need to
We're taking you on the journey. So we'll be talking about it over the next 8 episodes too. But so we will keep going until the summer, but then we're going to each going to go in different directions. So have you got any sort of a plan yet, Lucy? Is it linked to that?
It's sort of linked to that. So my plan is I want to focus on my clients and my business, but I've wanted to do video content for a while and wasn't really clear on what I wanted that to be. And I suppose the first thing to say is I'm not going to be doing something as structured as the podcast, but I want an outlet for video. I want to do more videos. So I was at IFE. I've done some video content for that. I want to do, where I've done like city visits. I did a Malaga city guide and stuff like that. I want to do video content like that and kind of bring people with me on what I'm doing from filling up my tank. So videos of me basically filling up my innovation tank.
Really exciting, like the stuff that you like, the real foodie elements of what you do, and like creating that sort of content.
And actually that goes back to, I still don't feel very confident to do that, but I definitely wouldn't feel confident at all to do that without having gone through the Bow for Food's sake journey.
Well, and 4 years ago we weren't confident on a mic, so
exactly.
there you are.
Exactly.
And I think for me, like, I've got this real scare-sighted thing going on that I always talk about, scare-sighted, don't I? Like, I am scared about what to do. Like, I'm not really sure. Change is weird and difficult, but actually I'm excited because and when I alluded to earlier in the episode when I cried last week, it was because of this, you know, like, and actually this real feeling of, I'm not done yet. I want to keep using my voice. It feels like this is what I am here for. So don't go anywhere. Anybody listening, don't unsubscribe, because I'm definitely going to continue something with the podcast, but it won't be under Oh For Food's Sake, but it will still be here. So don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I guess we will, as soon as we know what we're doing more of, we will be sharing it on socials and stuff like that. But we wanted to share with you straight away that this is what's going to happen, because like Lucy said, you've been on the journey with us for the last 4 years and the last 200 episodes. So it's important that we're honest.
Yeah. And I think it would just be, we talked about it, didn't we? And it just felt like it would be disingenuous to not say.
Yeah. It's like we can't record all these episodes and pretend that nothing's happened.
Yeah. Because we do bring things back to us and our experience and what we're doing. And it's a big, it's now going to be a big part of what we're both doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And thinking about over the next few weeks.
And I think when people listen to this episode, like, do get in touch with us, like individually, and let us know what you think and what you would like to see more of in art, and how you would like things to evolve.
Yeah.
And what content you want to see from both of us. And it's not like you're never going to see me and Lucy together again, because you will, because we're friends. We've been friends for 20 years.
Exactly.
But yeah.
And it's such an incredible thing, I think, that we've done. 4 years of creating a podcast. And I think it's different when you start a business. You have a vision for that business, and whether you're growing it to sell it or whatever. But it's like a sort of, we never had that with the podcast, and it's kind of evolved and grown. And I'm so grateful for you being my co-host, and it happened at such a brilliant time for both of us, didn't it? And we're so lucky that people have listened to us.
Yeah.
And I hope that they stick around and stay with us both.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, I want to say the same, Lucy. Like, it's been an amazing 4 years, such a journey together. And I just don't know, I couldn't have done it without you. I don't know how I'm going to do it without you. I'm getting emotional, but it will be cool. And it'll be fine, because we can do hard things, and I can tell, it's going to take us both onto bigger and better things. So stick with us, listeners. And if you are not already signed up on our email list, sign up in the show notes, because everything that we plan to do in the future, we would let everybody on that email list know where they need to look and where they need to subscribe and all of that. So but we're not going anywhere yet. We're here for the next 8 episodes. So thanks for listening, everybody. And we will see you next time.
We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it, rate and review us. It really helps us reach more food industry pros like you.
For more resources, head over to our website, ohforfoodsake.co.uk, and join our mailing list to stay in touch.
And if you'd like to connect with us, come say hello on LinkedIn. We're both there, Lucy Wager and Amy Wilkinson.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.